Hey everyone, welcome to Off the Mat, a podcast about two women's experience in jiu-jitsu and how that translates into our lives off the mat. I'm Justine, a bit of a renegade, outdoor enthusiast, and a white belt in jiu-jitsu.
And I'm Karina, a full-time student, creative artist, and also a white belt on my way to becoming a black belt.
We're live, folks, from Karina's studio apartment.
Hell yeah! Hello.
Hello, everybody!
Woo! We need to do a USA.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Bad ideas.
Alright, everyone. Welcome back to our third official episode. We're so happy to be continuing to do this together. So something pretty influential happened today.
Yes.
Justine, what did we do today?
We had our first quote-unquote competition. I say quote-unquote intentionally.
Man.
Because it was a very interesting, very intense, all-around ridiculous event, I would say.
So if you'd like to hear us talk about our first ever competition, our experiences, our reality, kind of how it went on, then keep on listening because you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Because other things, you can work outside of, but this one is like, okay, I should not put my hands up near their chest, near their face, because they're going to take it, they're going to triangle choke me, and then I'm going to be struggling to breathe for 30 seconds, and I'm going to be on that line of should I tap, should I not, and that's where I was.
Yes, that's what got you ultimately, is his triangle choke.
Yeah.
But she did a really good job, like, maneuvering through a bunch of his things earlier, getting out of some arm bars. You got your back at one point. You got out of that with like that butt over the thigh thing.
Yeah,
and
I
so
haven't learned that. I'm like, they should have taught that. Remember, they mentioned it to us in class the night before,
yeah.
And they specifically said, we're not going to teach you this because we don't want to confuse you. And guess what? The next day I'm in that position, like, maybe.
But you did it. You like
I
did the butt thing.
the little butt thing.
But yeah, so I think, well, and something Karina and I were talking about is, I think as an athlete, in any capacity, when you prepare for a game or a competition, you kind of envision the result that you want. So both of us were like, we like envisioned ourselves winning. And
They're
like
just so amazing.
and just like kicking ass and like just being these awesome jiu-jitsu participants. And the reality was so far different. And I imagine that hit you a little bit after that first round.
Yeah.
To tap.
I mean, yeah, it's tough. It's tough tapping. I think anybody knows. Even if you don't do jiu-jitsu, it's kind of like they say uncle, like, how far can you go until you can't? And how big of a pussy are you, to be honest? Because if you're not going unconscious, then you're a pussy, you know?
Side sexist note is a super weird insult. Not that you're sexist. Cause
no, my sister would reprimand me, so I should say that you're...
But pussies are like
something
super
else.
strong because they like birth
a whole entire female. I'm on the same
like
page.
A giant thing comes out of it.
Yeah.
So.
My little sister Dottie
And,
would be like, don't say pussy.
I know, and testicles.
Yeah.
It's like these like super sensitive little things.
Watch a video
Yeah,
of
you
people...
should. That should be the thing. Like, you're being a testicle. You're being testes.
I watched a video of people eating bull testicles today.
I've eaten one.
Is that like a Rwanda? Where is that from? They were in Chicago eating it. They were in Chicago.
So I ate one in Kenya.
Yeah. It's a little different.
And it was actually really funny because it tasted exactly as you think it would taste.
Interesting.
It tastes like a testicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so I can just go ahead and just not try it because I know what it will taste like.
Yeah, I mean,
that's fair.
Divulging a lot of information there. But there's a guy who I was friends with, and we were at the restaurant where we tried it. And I was like, so what does it taste like? And he's like, oh, it tastes like semen. And he was like a straight guy. And I was like, well, so how do you know this?
Semen tastes like?
And it was funny.
It was actually Dana White from the UFC. He's the president of UFC.
Really?
And he was traveling to Chicago to watch fighters. And they ate bull testicles beforehand.
Yeah, and I mean... They just literally taste like testicles.
They're like
these
skin off like a mango.
It's like these round, like
No, they're big.
Bowling
They're like the
lanes?
size of like what's that called? A burrito.
They're not that big.
Oh, I watched a video today. They slice them up, so it's like a. I watched it. They were in the kitchen.
Men, this is your fate.
How did we get to that? How can I relate that back to
Obviously,
what we were talking about?
You're talking about pussies. They're like, it's a pussy if
Okay,
you tap
we'll
out.
take it back. So, yes, ultimately, a bull testicle is similar to a pussy because I didn't want to be a pussy by tapping. Like, that's just how it goes. Was that good enough? I think that was terrible. You try.
Pussy. You literally just said a pussy's like the same thing as a bull testicle.
As in, like, whenever we say the word, like, you're a pussy, it's the same thing as saying you're a
So
testicle.
you didn't say that.
I give up.
Yeah, so I think the point that we're trying to make is that
You tell me what.
is that when you're rolling and you have to tap out, which is an intelligent thing to do. Like, even our gym says,
Yeah.
like, tap early, tap often, because you don't want to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in competition, you want to push that a little bit further because it's a competition, but at the same time, you know, ultimately you want to be in there for the long haul, so you don't want to have any kind of crazy injuries that keep you out. So, I think sometimes when we're in those situations and we tap, it's kind of like, basically you're admitting defeat.
Oh,
like you're
not
self-selecting
basically, yeah.
defeat. Like, you've beaten me, I can't do anything more against you.
Yeah, I mean...
Or you've got me in a position where I can't get out of, like you're being choked, like you literally can't breathe.
Yeah,
So,
it's tough to be in that position of, like, accepting that somebody else got you in an area where you're helpless. You have completely accepted defeat when you tap.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt that a little bit this morning, and not in such an extreme sense of like I'm defeated, but like, if I were to drill certain things and to kind of work things into my mind, I could have avoided that situation. So it's a nice, maybe more extreme example than in practice when we kind of just roll whatever it is. Now in competition, I'm like, wow, these are actually things that do affect me in a competition.
Right.
So I'm gonna go back to the drawing board and kind of see what I gotta work on. So that was a nice eye-opening role for me. Maybe just more of like a kick in the butt,
Yeah.
So after I rolled, then you went with our girl that we saw earlier.
Yes. Yeah, we're a few hours post competition, and both of us are like, God, it feels hard to take in a full breath. Like,
can you breathe fully? Because I can't.
And like even when I breathe, like my whole back and chest hurts. It's
The
like,
neck sensitive for you because it's sensitive for me.
I think just everything hurts. Yeah. And I think what's cool is that even though we had this objectively like bad experience kind of right, with our first quote unquote competition, both of us are like already thinking about what we want to do for like a next competition and seeing like, okay, what can I do differently. And for me, I learned, I'm gonna kind of have a bit of a hard line about rolling with people who are so far outside of my weight class.
Yeah.
Just because, at least as a white belt, I feel like I don't have the know-how to maneuver outside of such a heavy weight.
And it takes a lot of toll.
And yeah, just the psychological and physical toll of it was...
It's too much.
And it just wasn't fun. And for me, like, the most important thing about jiu-jitsu is that it's something that I enjoy doing. And when I was rolling against her, it just wasn't fun. There's no part of it that I was like, oh, this is, like, enjoyable, because it took... Yeah, it was just... I could have done my best to what I know how and still probably have ended up in the same position.
And then by the time that me and you got to roll, which would have been potentially fun.
That would have been fun.
We had been smashed. We were just not fully there. And maybe that's how competitions go. We're also fully beginners. So maybe you just gotta rally, and maybe we'll learn to get stronger stomachs and stomach linings. But
dry out our tear ducts. Actually, I think it's fine to cry, and I think I really appreciated today, because Karina and I are good friends, so kind of having like somebody there, you know, like our families aren't there, other friends aren't coming to be like, yeah, cheer you on for jiu-jitsu. So it's really just the two of us when we go. And I think it was just nice to feel like, oh yeah, like there's like, even though we're fighting against each other, there's someone who's, regardless, just on your team.
We're not totally alone. Kind of like
Yeah.
we mentioned last episode, don't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Today, like, we didn't do it alone, and it definitely, I think, helped in the end.
Yeah, and I think I'm taking away from it just like a really good learning experience in terms of things I can improve, things I can do different next time, and then also things that I'm not willing to replicate, at least at this point.
Well, we've got our list now, and we've got them, they've got a foundation and actual truth and facts, because we've been there and we've done that.
Yeah, and so hopefully before I leave Florida, we'll find another tournament to go to that ideally would have more people who are girls in our class.
So tune in to whenever we have our next competition so you guys can see how it goes for us.
And how my new hairstyle goes as well.
Yeah, so whether it's on the mat or off the mat.
Have a good life.
I know we should do that differently.
So we'll see you next week, either on the mat or
off the mat.